So as a driver, 4 years, I remember my first year, I probably put on 40 pounds. And the main thing I had to figure out is in the difference of lifestyle, I'm going to spend more than half the day sitting. I was completely active every moment. So the difference is I'm not actively burning calories. And as I sit, my body is actually going to store fat and things like that. I'm not burning fat. So it took me a while to adapt. But the main thing I realized is obviously the fast food options are the only thing. Subway was working for a minute, but I just went ahead and I bought my own sandwich. Especially with the little refrigerator, you just get some cheese, mayonnaise, mustard, the bread, the meat, and just slap it together. If you want to go all out with the other stuff, you can do that. But first I'm going to talk about I'm talking about diet. So for me, I say I only eat like 1 or 2 sandwiches a day, and especially since I caught like that stomach virus, I don't know if it's IBS or whatever, I probably only eat 1 or 2 sandwiches a day. And my digestion is actually less because of the because of the irritation in my stomach. It's just burning everything up. I think my proteins it's attacking the proteins or whatever. I ain't no biologist, but whatever that one was. As far as working out goes, I don't work out every day, but first of all, I want to talk about ratio. What's your ratio of inactivity to activity? Sitting compared to exercise and moving. How many hours are you sitting versus how many hours are you moving around? I could say 12 to 14 hours minimum. I'm moving around. I'm sitting. So how much time am I really going to move around? And then also, that's going to determine, I realize, I don't want to go too strenuous. Why would I want to go with an extreme workout? I want to go more light to moderate. And I'm probably going to spend 15 to 30 minutes. But the thing that I notice is, when do I work out? Because if I work out in the morning, at least for me personally, I notice what happens is, because I went from a period of activity to inactivity, my body would seize up. So I get stiff, because I went from heart pumping, heart rate up, vessels open, circulation open, pressure. But then I stop, then my body will freeze up, so it'll fatigue me. So what I realize is if you do work out in the morning, you're going to have to stop probably once or twice every 1 to 2 hours, and then work out at least like another 10 minutes or something. But what you're doing is you're going from activity to inactivity, but you're moving light to moderate. See, because if you go too strenuous, that's when you're going to hurt your back, hurt your elbow, hurt your wrist, pop something out of place. But if you keep it light to moderate, especially like calisthenics, you're not going to hurt yourself with your own body weight, So the other option is wait until after your shift and work out, and then try to stay up for a little bit, cool down, and then rest. And when you start in the morning, you won't have the fatigue issue as much because you did not increase your heart rate and jolt your system. See what I'm saying? Your system has to stay stable. So whatever works for you, or maybe you just want it in the middle during your 30. But the other thing is knowing how to split. So if you know how to do split hours with the 2 to 3 off, and then you do the other 7 to 8 in the sleeper, what I notice is if you don't understand, when you do a split, you basically, everything has to equal 11 and 14, right? So if you start the next shift with a 7 or an 8, then whatever hours you have, when you do the 2 or 3, you're going to get the other half that equals 11 or 14. For example, if I stopped at 5 hours remaining, I know that when I start tomorrow, it's going to be the same 5 hours, but after I do the 2 to 3, it's going to add 6 more hours for the drive, right? But here's the thing is, if you split the opposite and do the 2 to 3 first, let's say you drove for 5 or 6 hours and you're tired, you take a nap for 2 to 3 hours. You did that part of it. So what's going to happen is you had a 5 hours remaining. When you drive the rest of it after the 2 or 3 hour nap and you take the 7, you're going to get the other half of the clock back. Okay, so wherever you stop, you drove for 6 hours, you're going to get 6 hours back after 7. Then you're going to take another 2 or 3 and you're going to get the other 5. So if you repeat that cycle, if you find yourself getting tired, this is something that new drivers would do if the dispatchers weren't micromanaging the drivers and calling, talking about, why did you stop? You still have 5 hours. Just put your shit on airplane mode and hope they don't whoop your ass. You know what I'm saying? And then after 2 to 3 hours, you get to driving, you take the 7. That's still 10 hours. You know, you didn't waste time. What you did was you stayed within your limit and you kept yourself from fatiguing. So that's the diet, the workout, and the shift management. So if you combine all of that, what you'll find is you'll have more energy because, one, if you use a split technique, you're always getting a nap for 2 to 3 hours and driving. You're going to drive farther. The food, well, that's the part that's going to be hardest. Most people can't control their eating habits, you know. Even if they have a sandwich, they'll want another sandwich and then they're too full. That's a part of the grind and the discipline, to be able to starve a little bit, knowing that you ate one sandwich. And then also the activity. So if you work out in the morning, most likely you might face fatigue unless you continually increase your heart rate every couple of hours to keep your system stable. But if not, work out after your shift or work out on your break. So you combine all of that, especially with the split technique. If you take a 2 or 3 hour nap, man, you're gonna nail it. So if you had the courage to not care about what your dispatcher is telling you and calling you, and go ahead and take that 2 to 3 hour nap after 5 hours or 6 hours, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. But you know, you just gotta take that step for yourself. All right, y'all.